Hello everyone, welcome back to Changfied YouTube channel, your trusted source for latest updates across South Sudan and beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you are new here, this channel brings you clear, simple and honest news about South Sudan and East Africa. Today we have three major stories. We will talk about Doctor Without Border is worried after 26 of its staff went missing in Jonglei State. Second, we'll talk about the governor of Upper Nile is asking displaced people to leave camp and return home, but many citizens are asking serious questions. And finally, we'll talk about East African leaders are preparing for a major summit in Tanzania that could affect trade and the future of the region. Before we begin with this latest update, I will ask you to help the channel by subscribing and turn on the notification bell. So whenever we upload a new video, you can be notified. Let's begin our report with MSF worried about staff safety in Jonglei State. According to the information, the international medical group Medicine Sans Frontier, also known as MSF or Doctor Without Border, has raised serious concern about the safety of its workers in Lankan and Piri in Jonglei State. MSF released a statement from Juba on March 2nd, 2026. According to the organization, information that they released, they stated that 26 of its 291 staff members working in those areas are currently missing. Yes, 26 people are missing that are working with MSF. The organization said they lost contact with these staff members after fighting broke out in the area. So, what happened? MSF explained that when tension started rising, staff had already left the hospital compound because they feared an attack on the town. Soon after violence escalated, communication network in the area are very weak. The government of South Sudan shut down the internet or the network, and many people ran into remote bush area to hide and protect themselves after the SSPDF bombarded the area. Because of this, MSF said it cannot reach 26 of its staff. According to the information, the organization hoped that the lack of contact is because of poor phone network in Jonglei State, but they also afraid that some of their colleagues may be in serious danger. Many of the MSF workers did not just live alone. They fled with their families. Some are now displaced. They are hiding in remote places without enough food, clean water, medical care, and basic services. These are the same elderly workers who were helping the community. Now they also need help. Because of the insecurity, MSF has stopped all medical activities in Lankan and Piri. This decision affects about 250,000 people. That means around 250,000 people now have limited or no access to health care in those areas. Imagine mothers with sick children. Imagine pregnant women and pregnant women that are in needing care. Imagine injured people with no hospital nearby. And this is the reality on the ground. These are the things that are happening in Jonglei. The head of mission for MSF in South Sudan says something very important. He says medical workers should never be targeted. He explained that the violence has caused deep suffering, not only by stopping health care, but also by hurting the very people who provide it. MSF said it is trying everything possible to reconnect with missing staff, support affected families, and provide emergency assistance where possible. But the situation remains unstable in Jonglei State. let's look at the bigger question. This raises a serious issue. When health workers are not served, communities suffer. Hospitals cannot function in fear. Medical facilities are supposed to be protected. Around the world, attacking healthcare service is considered unacceptable. Yet again, civilian and service providers are caught in violence. And the question many South Sudanese are asking is, when will medical workers be fully protected? Take a deep breath with me. This story is painful, but let us move to our second story. Before we start our second story, please save the channel by subscribing and turn on the notification bell so whenever we upload a new video, you can be notified. Our second top story is about Governor Dollar call for IDP to return in this situation. Now we go to Upper Nile State, where the governor of Upper Nile, Jacob Dollarwood, is encouraging internally displaced persons, also called IDPs and returnees, to leave camp and reintegrate into local communities. He spoke after meeting President Salva Kiir Mayardit in Juba. Let's look at what the governor said. According to the information, the governor said the situation in Upper Nile is calm. He recently visited Reng, Manyo counties. According to him, now is the time for reconciliation, reintegration, and dialogue. He say staying in camp forever is not the solution. Instead, he wants people to return to their original home or join communities and rebuild their life. He believes this will create long-term stability. President Salva Kiir Mayardit also emphasized unity. He said peace starts when communities accept each other. President Salva Kiir Mayardit stressed that development in Upper Nile depends on how well different groups live together. The message from leadership is clear: peace and unity first, development later. But citizens are asking hard questions. Many people are not convinced with this call from the governor of Upper Nile State and the message from President Salva Kiir Mayardit. Some citizens are asking questions. How can people safely return home when insecurity still exists? Some civilians claim that people are still being targeted because of who they are. Others say displacement happened because of conflict involving government forces, where the SSPDF are targeting civilians. So they are asking, how will integration work in reality? Will people be served? Will justice be addressed? Will grievances be solved? And these are serious concerns. So what does reintegration really mean? Reintegration is not just moving out of the camp. It means feeding, serve, having access to land, having shelter, being accepted by neighbor, having protection. If these conditions are not met, reintegration becomes difficult. So let's look at the bigger challenge. Peace is not just about calm street. It is about trust. If communities do not trust security forces, if returnees fear discrimination, if past wounds are not healed, if SSPDF do not stop attacking the opposition and targeting civilians, then reintegration becomes complicated. The governor said inclusive dialogue will be held, including people from Upper Nile living in Juba. This could help, but action on the ground will matter more than speech. But according to this, what are these people Governor Jacob is referring to, that the people in Juba should be included? Are these the people that are living in IDP camp? What about those in Upper Nile State that were displaced by SSPDF? How will they be integrated? This story is still developing, and many families are watching closely. Let us move to our third story, a regional story that may affect trade and economy across East Africa. According to this report, our third top story, H8 of state meet in Arusha. According to the information, leader of the East African Community, also known as EAC, are preparing for the 25th Ordinary Summit. The meeting will take place in Arusha, Tanzania on March 7, 2026. Well, this summit brings together presidents from 8 member countries. The theme of this year's summit is deepening integration for improved livelihood of East Africa community citizens. In simple language, leaders want stronger cooperation to improve people's lives. One of the biggest expected announcements is the launch of the EAC custom ban. What does that mean? Currently, traders moving goods across different EAC countries must secure separate guarantees in each country. This takes time, it costs money, it creates delay, and under the new system, traders will use one bond recognized by all East Africa community countries. This could reduce border delay, lower costs, speed up trade, protect government revenue. If implemented properly, it could make business easier across the region. Leaders are also expected to launch the 7 EAC development strategy for 2026 to 2031. This plan will guide economic growth and regional cooperation for the next 5 years. It aligns with long-term African development goals. Other key decisions are during the summit, leaders are also expected to appoint a new Secretary General, appoint judge to the East African Court of Justice, and review financial contribution system, and finally maybe discuss integration of newer member states. This decision shape how the regional bloc operate. So why this matter for South Sudan? South Sudan is a part of EAC. A stronger regional trade could improve market access, lower import costs, create business opportunities, and strengthen economic ties. But success depends on stability inside member countries. Regional integration works best when national peace exists. If you are new to Changfied YouTube channel, please I would like you to help the channel by subscribing and turn on the notification bell. And let's meet on the next report. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.